Bulavinaka, namaste and good evening. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is Reverend Simoni Tugi. He is a pastor from the Assemblies of God Church and now the General Secretary of the Fiji Evangelical Fellowship. He is a very instrumental member in the community. He's a committee member of the Narcotics Bureau, the recently formed Narcotics Bureau, and also a member of the HIV Task Force. A lot to handle as a church minister, sir. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to come on the show tonight.
Thank you, Vijay, for the invite.
Now, as a church minister, what is your assessment on the critical issues that the leaders of our country should be looking at the moment?
I tell you, we really need a combined effort to deal with this. And I know the government can't handle this. We need the church and the Vanua to come together, everybody, to hold hands together and to fight for the social issues that are coming. And I believe it's uncontrollable. We really need to do something, and we need the help we can get. There is a lot of help being offered by the overseas. Then we need to take it. Otherwise, because some of these issues are very new to us, and we don't know how to handle it.
Which issues are these, Reverend?
In terms of drugs, even though they are here for sometimes, but the rise, meaning that we are disconnected, we don't know how to handle it. If things are, now we know how to handle it, it should be reflected, it should go down. Now they keep on going up. And some disconnections over there. And we really need expertise and need help.
I see you are involved in some critical areas that you believe change should be occurring. You're very concerned about domestic violence, the abuse of our women and children. You're very concerned about the rise in hard drugs, now being a committee member of the Narcotics Bureau. And you're really concerned about the significant rise in the HIV cases in the country. Do you think we are doing enough?
We are not doing enough. In terms of violence against women and children, we are the highest in the Pacific, the highest and the worst. And in the world, we are the fourth worst. Just imagine those numbers. And we are trying to help our women, our sisters, our aunties. But we have traditions and cultures that I think has a lot of contributions to why we treat our women like this. So the Vanua and the church should come in to tackle this with the help of the government.
Do you believe that we still have a patriarchal sort of thinking that women are being disadvantaged all the time?
Yes, so much. Men, 90% of the perpetrators are men, so that will tell you Patriarchal is really alive in Fiji. We still think that man holds everything, and the women are forgotten. Kitchen is a place. You can talk here. So that's why we thought that we hold everything.
But it's an embarrassment to the nation and even to the churches that we have this kind of thinking in this day and age, and where a majority of the women and children are victims of this.
Yes, and that's why we need to have a very hard talk. The church, they should, we have a very good structure in the church, systems. We have the men's department, women's department, the youth department. But the question, are we utilizing those? Because every year and all the time, we still see violence against our women and our children. It's not a good picture for us in Fiji and for the Pacific.
Sometimes, Reverend, those things, if you're separating families with your weekly evening sessions, there's a lot of concern about that the mothers are away or the fathers are away, and then the children do their own thing. What should the churches be doing in relation to making sure the families spend more time together?
You know, the pastors and those people who are involved in the church, we live with the community. We preach 52 weeks, 50 Sunday in a year, and we stay with the community every week. So if we have the knowledge, then we can share what we have. Right now, the pastors and the church workers, we need to be taught, to be educated with the current social issues we have. You know, you can only share what you have. We should know the systems of if you see something, if you see somebody having a problem, and you should know what to do. Right now, we don't know what to do. And our congregations are sitting there in front of you preaching, and they go through these things. And because I am not educated to identify the issues or the problems, and these people who are part of a congregation bring their problem in the church and will go back without any resolutions or solutions to their problem because we don't know what to do. We need to educate ourselves, or we need the support from the government or the NGOs to come and teach us about the social issues we are facing right now.
Reverend Tugi, growing up in Fiji, and then you went on to become a pastor of the Assemblies of God Church, and of course then eventually you were the General Secretary of the Fiji Council of Churches. You're still a board member of the Fiji Council of Churches, and then now the General Secretary of the Fiji Evangelical Fellowship. Can you please describe the challenges in your journey growing up from, I believe you grew up in Laos, coming into Suva, and then your journey to present day?
I am from Narayan, Laos. Grew up there. I have my education there from class 1 to form 4. Then from there, because we don't have any high school, then I have to come to Suva. And we are the pioneers of the Nasinu Secondary School, which was established. It's a government school for us, like the people from Laos, from Naitasiri, from Vunuolevu. And from there, from Nasinu, I spent another 2 years as a head boy in Nambua Secondary School. So I was there. And straight after that, after 1 year, I didn't pass my university entrance at that time, the UE.
It's the Form 6
Yeah,
external
Form 6,
exam.
yeah. So I just stay home and go straight into a church, Assemblies of God Church. And I grew up there. So after 1 year, 8 months in the church, then I find my first job as a receptionist clerk with the Fiji Public Service Credit Union, a multi-million-dollar company. And I had never had any training, no certificate, nothing. But because I believe in my faith is the one that carries me through that time. And I tell you, Vijay, after 9 years, I rose from the receptionist clerk to the chief executive, managing about $18 million company assets. That's the highlight of my work. If you are listening, and with your faith, you can achieve more. Even you don't have the education. I go and do my study for my MBA when I was 50, because I know I've got the experience, but I don't have the qualifications. So I'm going to do that. And the second part, because I wanted to, when I retire from everything, and I will say, hang my certificate there, and I said to my children and my grandchildren, I did that when I was 50. So there is nothing can stop you from achieving your goal. So from there, then from the school, I went to America for a while, lived there for a while, for about 5 years, and I came back and I started my own business over here in Suva. But my work as a pastor, I never get out from there. I remain as a church worker, very, very committed church worker. I maintain my pastoral work. I went to the hotel, was working as a manager in Doubletree Resort by Hilton. During COVID, then I retired from there and I joined, in fact, the Fiji Council of Churches. We're already there. The Fiji Evangelical, we're already there about 10 years, now 11 years. And I already served my General Secretary's job from 2018 to 2016. I was a General Secretary. And lately, 2 years ago, then this is my second term as a GS of the Fiji Council of Churches. So I also serve as a General Treasurer. So I've been around the block for a while. And during all these years, 6 years ago, the rise in social issues become predominant in Fiji. So I face all those. And I think that's where it turns my life to engage with the social issues in Fiji, because I have seen that the church needs to do more. We seem to be preaching the wrong message at the wrong time. And that is a big concern I have seen.
You talked about concerning social ills now. Do you believe that many people are also living in denial?
Yes, that is exactly one of the biggest problems we have. For instance, the drugs, the most talked about topic in Fiji right now. You go anywhere, they talked about drugs. We know it's there, we have the data, but we are doing nothing about it. The church is not preaching against violence against women and children. We are not preaching against drugs. We are not preaching about human trafficking. We are not talking about this because we thought that this is the job of the government. And we talk about spiritual problem. But we don't know all these drugs, all this violence against them are all spiritual problems. In all things we have, there must be a spiritual causes. And spiritual causes must be handled by spiritual intervention.
Serious issues are being raised about parental neglect. What are your thoughts on that?
There is a family breakdown right now in Fiji. We as parents, we don't have time for our children. We left early in the morning to go to work, and our children go at about 7 o'clock. And then when they come back, you're still not there because of the traffic jams. By the time they arrived home, you already have their dinner, they're doing their studies, so there is no communications at all. And a lot of our parents, because there is a lot of social responsibility around us, and we choose to go and attend whatever we are obligated for, and we forget our children at home. And what we do, we give them the phone to play around so that they can have their time and not asking for us. So there is a lot of problem. I have a lot of time with the kids in town, streets. If I take you around, everybody there will call me, taltala, taltala, because I buy them food and everything. They don't have that love from home. That's why when they come to town, when I give them a serve of barbecue, 6 or 7 of them, they will come and share. You give them a large Coke from McDonald's, you'll see them share this. And that's the love they're looking for. And if we don't give it from home, they will find it anywhere or somewhere else. And that's exactly, I'm saying there is a total breakdown in the family, and we need to do something about it.
You're saying that most of these children, young people who are on the streets, they are on the streets because they are from families who sort of have disowned them, don't show them love?
Totally. There's a lot of young people from Laos and from Rewa and from Letasiri. These are the very young people who come to the urban areas to have their studies. And because their parents are left behind, they come and stay with their relatives. And their relatives, they ill-treat them. So that's why, they can't talk back because they are there under the wings of their relatives. So because they can't find that love, they choose to go to the street. And it's a very, very sad...
We know government is grappling with this issue of street kids.
Yes.
Even when they take them somewhere, the kids end up on the streets again. What do you think is the solution for the people watching out there, including the parents of these kids who may be watching this as well?
Yeah, I think the first thing we should do now is the love should start from home before, because they can't find the love, that's why they end up in the street. Now we are dealing with the people in the street, and no one can contain them too. They provide a place to sleep in the night, a shower, and a meal. The next day, they're already gone again. So there is no way we can capture them. It is good, I believe, and we have some initial discussions about this. We need to have a good rehab centers far away from town. They can go there if they are still in school age, and they can be taken to school, provided everything they should they need. But first of all, we should never allow this in the first place. The first place is from home. And because the breakdown is already there, then the government should take ownership of this. They should build rehab. There is no rehab now. We are all depending on on small NGOs to take care of our kids in town. And the Ministry of Women and Children, they have a very hard time in this. And I hope there is something concrete is done. The church and the government should hold hands together in this.
You're watching Fiji Village Street Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break. About 20 years ago, we had a major drug bust, and you would remember, you would have been part of the operations at Laudala Beach. A lot of people in Fiji did not know what was methamphetamine. And what we are picking up on, people are saying it's readily available. Just an issue in relation to General Secretary. Was that a tactical move that he ejected himself from Parliament?
Personally, it's unfortunate.
How are you dealing with those police officers who may be allegedly involved in this?
No one is above the law. We assure you that we will be having police officers around.
As a result of that bad policy, by the end of this month, we would have lost close to about $70 million in government revenue.
Bula Vinaka, I'm Vijay Narayan. This is Fiji Village Straight Talk.
Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it live on the Fiji Village Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Hey guys, it's Penny and I've got some great news for you. I've got a podcast.
Up. Don't whack heels. We have a podcast.
Isn't that what I said?
You didn't say that. You said I have a podcast. There's no I, there's we.
Well, when I'm doing all the talking, it seems like it's my podcast.
Well, because you are so rude. You're not very demure. You don't
maybe
give any
if you
thoughtfulness
contributed something, we
I
would have
contribute.
like people
nice
would have actually
enough.
remembered you.
They do remember me. They call me the Berolino anyways.
Debatable. That
It's
is
not debatable.
so
It's
debatable.
Well, ladies, get it out. We gotta move ahead now. Back.
I'm sorry, but
keep
who
on
asked you?
When were you involved in this
when did this
conversation?
become a we conversation?
Yeah.
Because
Behind
listen,
time, we gotta.
listen,
No, I don't care.
we don't care if
Watch
we're behind
it, okay?
you. Okay?
You're here because of us.
Don't
Let's
talk
never
to us
forget
like
deadline.
that. I don't care about you. Let's get hold of this guy.
This guy. You really thought?
I'm hungry.
Go eat.
Let's go.
Hello? HR?
Demes. Sa mama na lima. Bebe kenapa? Good. Kung fu.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is Reverend Simoni Tugi. He's the General Secretary of the Fiji Evangelical Fellowship, board member of the Fiji Council of Churches, committee member of the Narcotics Bureau, and also a member of the HIV Task Force. Very influential in the different areas of work he's doing, and he's saying that the fight has to continue as we battle into a lot of social ills in our country. Tautala, the rise in the use of hard drugs, a major concern. Prior to this, marijuana was something that was very concerning, but now we know in the last 10, 15 years, the emergence of hard drugs, the highly addictive methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, etc. What is your assessment based on your experience?
The issues of drugs in the countries was there for a while, but we never pay a lot of attention to it. The previous government said that it's not a problem in Fiji.
They said it's not widespread.
Yeah, it's not widespread.
You disagree with that?
I totally disagree, because this thing was coming from the rural areas in terms of marijuana. They plant this and they sell it in the urban areas. So it was widespread already. It's already there, but we didn't take a good hard look at it. And because everything starts slowly, and suddenly this boiling water overflows. The overflowing is what we are reaching now. It's already started slowly, it's brewing slowly. It's the same thing like the AIDS in Fiji. We thought that we contained it in 2016, 17, and the UN AIDS packed up and they went away. There was no more. And the government didn't really pay attention to it. And right now, we have about 121 cases per month. And there's about 4,000 which are living in HIV in Fiji right now. And a lot of our people, because of stigma, they wouldn't be able to go to the doctor. And I'm asking everybody there, if you feel some kind of symptoms, please go and have tested. If you're tested and if you're positive, there are treatment in the hospital. And you can live a normal life. Right now, because of stigma, they don't want to go because you'll be labeled as, oh, this is a person of HIV, and you'll be disowned by everybody. But I'm encouraging people, communities, if you feel that you have the symptoms, just go and have tested. In the past, it takes a long time to the result comes in. Now you can just sit there in 15 minutes, you have a result, the rapid test. you can have it. And you start with your medication straight away. Don't use the Fijian medicine because it was never proven by medicine. So there was, like the last 2 years, there's about 124 deaths because they are the people who come in very late or they're using the traditional
kind of herbal
medicine. So there's, it's a serious issues in Fiji in terms of drugs.
We know the UNAIDS had downscaled their office in Fiji. Do you think that that was the right decision by them?
During that time, I was heavily involved too. During that time, when and I believe we did a good job. It was maintain all those cases we have at that time were taking their treatment, and suddenly this thing comes up because of the drugs. The drugs, I believe, is the very root causes because what the figures we have right now, 56% are through needles.
Reverend, you have been personally affected by this. If you can share about the serious challenges when you're faced with somebody who you dearly love and they're addicted to hard drugs.
I'm not only a strong advocate on social issues in Fiji, and one of the reason why I'm doing this too, my motivating factor, is because all of my child, all of my children is affected. I've got 8 children, 1 boy and 7 girls. And my 4th girl was really affected with this. And it's not only affecting her, it's affecting my family, and it's also affecting my work. I said, how can I stand in the pulpit and preach because of my child? But that is one of the reasons why it pushed me to preach against the use of drugs. I not only know the data, the symptoms, but I've seen someone in my family, in my family, who is dealing with this problem. It's a very serious problem, and I don't want to have any parent in Fiji to go through this problem. It's not just something that you can just take them to the hospital and come back, give them some painkillers and you're finished. It's there. It's really there. And it's very worrying because sometimes you don't know where they are. You call them, they will never answer. Sometimes they will call you in the middle of the night, Dad, I'm here, can you pay my taxi fare home? And you know she's still alive. I'm worried a lot because sometimes he threatens us with a suicidal thing. It's not a good spot to be as a parent because this child of mine is one of the brightest in the family. You have a lot of hope and you have a lot of investment, and suddenly they were just taken away. Taken away in terms of she's no longer there. But you know, she's there somewhere, but she's in a deep problem. I used to say this. People say, oh, you are very fortunate dad. You got a lot of girls. I said, yes, I'm blessed, but I can't see one of them cry. And this one, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, she called and she's crying, and a friend or somebody beat her up, and you go and get her. And when you reach there, there's nobody there, no friend, they're all gone. and she even don't know who the people who are around her. So those are the short stories I can tell the people of Fiji. It's very, very painful as a dad and as also an advocate for social issues we have.
How did you find out that she was doing hard drugs?
This is about 5 years ago. Coming home, she's married. She was introduced to this by the husband. And you really cannot separate them because they are married. Try to counsel them so many times, but it's just like you are talking to someone who has no knowledge altogether. The reason why I stay with her and fight with her, because I don't look at the drugs. I look at her as my daughter.
You love her?
I love her. And I know there is somehow we're going to change this. And I keep on telling her this. We need to do this together, and you need my support, and I need you. But that's just like a conversation. I have seen how drugs works with these young people. They change the way they do things, the opposite things they're doing it. They will say yes to you, and the very next moment they lost all those and doing something else. So that is very difficult.
St. Giles Hospital is overwhelmed to deal with mental health cases, and now with the rise in drug addiction cases. What are your thoughts and assessment? I believe that you tried to look at St. Giles to assist, but again, there were issues, the stigma attached to it as well.
Yes.
Did not help.
St. Giles is a mental hospital. It was not meant for drugs. But right now they are overwhelmed. It's only 100 beds in St. Giles. And it's about 300 people right now they needed to admit it straight away. But we don't have that. They don't have, it's not a rehab centers. So people was just supposed to go there a little bit and go out again. Right now, it's overwhelmed. 7,000 to 8,000 visits last year alone. So then you will see it's really overwhelmed. The nurses over there, they sometimes need the prison wards to come and help them. Or sometimes they call the police officers to come and to restrain people who are coming. So St. Giles right now is really overwhelmed, and we need a rehab center in Fiji, a real rehab center who have programs. Because drugs, if you take drugs, even if you leave it for a while, 2 or 3 years, it's still there in your body. And only the rehab center can take that away through withdrawal, detoxifications, and other programs. So, and now, because a lot of our young people are taking drugs, very soon when they come to the stage of addiction, that's where everything will be AY. And before they reach that stage, the intervention of rehabilitation is very, very critical right now. We need that. Otherwise, when we reach that stage of no turning back, then you can't do anything about it, because they're going to snap and they will end up in the street. And you can't do anything about it. And you already see the videos from overseas, like zombie. It's real. It's a real world we're living in, and it's a real problem. And I think Fiji should get this rehab center straight away. We need it straight away. My daughter needs this rehab center. My family needs this rehab center. I'm talking about the family, the father, the mother. We need these rehab centers. A lot of our parents, they are there, have their children with drugs, addicted to drugs, but they can't do anything about it. I have a lot of stories to say about the parents. They are going through the same thing too, but they can't come out. You will never hear any parents to come publicly and declare, I have a child, like me. Because now I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of parents in Fiji. I have a lot of meeting with Substance Abuse Council, with dealing with children. Last year alone, 4,000 cases of drugs in the school. Meaning, that's the only one that's been caught. So, those 4,000 cases are just not numbers. Those are parents involved there. Those are families. Those are villagers. And this is a big problem. And I think the government should take, and the church, very, very seriously. Otherwise, if we break this culture of silence and everybody comes out and tell their stories, then you'll see the real issue right now.
Reverend, you talked about you even question yourself as a father, that you stand in the pulpit. How can you preach if you're going through this?
Yes.
Do you feel helpless at times as a father because we do not have enough?
Yeah. I sometimes question myself whether I have the right to speak to the members of the public preaching. In one of my daughter, I really cannot solve her problem. And I look at the bright side of it. I'm not only dragged down because of my daughter is doing this. I wanted to encourage, because my daughter is having this problem, I need to help other people. And sometimes it motivates me to speak strong and advocate about this, because I'm not only know the data and what's going around.
You're living it.
I'm living it. So I need to stand up.
Is it beyond you right now because of no rehab center?
Right now, my only hope is the rehab center. We need to do this. We really need to do this. Because I want to take her to the St. Giles Hospital, to the other hospital, and I've tried to all other doctors and nurses to help me, and they're willing to help. But I can't get my child there, because she will come and say, okay, we go. And when I look for her, she's already gone. What else can I do? But if we have a rehab center and we know the programs is there, then I believe healing can take place.
Do you believe that you've said there's a real need to have a fully fledged drug rehab center? How important is it to have a properly equipped center and to also have it in a remote area?
It's very, very important to have this center in a remote area. And it has to be a gated community, because, they can come out anytime they want. But the programs we have, our partners from overseas, they want to bring to Fiji. It's a very, very good program, and it's 93% successful rate all around the world, meaning they can contain people. The programs they have is very, very attractive, and they can keep the students, we call them students, inside the premises without for them to come out.
So you actually have a solution. If government works with you, with the Fiji Evangelical Fellowship, you have a solution that will work for Fiji?
Yes, we have a partner in the USA, and they are willing to help the government to provide the facilities, because they have a lot of facilities around.
You're not meaning just a Christian setup. You're meaning a totally,
A
fully
fully
fledged
fledged
drug rehab
drug
center.
rehab center.
Have you spoken to the government about it?
Yes, we already talked with the minister. We already talked with the big doctors, and they're working with that. And we're just waiting for the facilities to be given. Then we'll provide the programs needed.
So when do you expect that to be done?
As soon as the government comes up with a facility.
And have they given you any time frame, knowing that this is a
no,
ticking time bomb already?
I believe if we work together, then maybe the next budget, they provide some funding there for the facilities. And we are also, if we're given a property and we are willing to do the renovation, because I know there are a lot of properties here in Fiji, they are already not used, they are run down a little bit, and we can do the renovations.
We talked about the rise through injectable drugs. This Bluetoothing is a major concern, where one syringe is used for injectable drugs and it's passed around, and that is the warning bells were already there, warning signs were already there when the issue of Bluetoothing came up. And now we can see the actual stats. Of course, they are reported stats. On top of that, now we have the issue of how to deal with that. Fiji now becoming one of the highest in the Asia Pacific region as far as the rise in HIV cases is concerned. What type of work is being done by the churches to try to assist in containing this situation?
The church needs to do better in this area. I believe if our pastors and the church are well trained with the social issues we have, provided with data, and also with identifying the symptoms and all this, then we can use our pulpit. In Fiji, we have about 1,193 villages in Fiji, and we have other informal settlements in the urban areas. Then in all those villages, we have 2 or 3, sometimes 4 or 5 churches in a single village. So we have the best platform if we have the knowledge to talk about drugs. Drugs is demonic. It's a spiritual thing. And I already said it needs spiritual interventions. So there is a thing that I want to say here, Vijay. If you really want to measure the spirituality of any nation, just see the social issues. And in Fiji, 99% of the population in Fiji belong to a faith group. It's either Christian, Hindu, or Muslim. 99%. That's just according to the 2017 census. So we are a religious nation. But if you really want to measure how spiritual we are, just see the social issues we have. There is a big, big disconnection. And if we say that social issues are spiritual, it comes back to me as a pastor. What I am doing, am I condemning drugs, or I just look away? Sin thrives, or drugs thrives right now because the man of God is looking away. We are looking away. We are not addressing the issues. Maybe we are preaching a wrong message. The message right now is drugs, it's violence against women and children, the social ills. It's thriving now because we are preaching a different message. And we should look, I should look what I'm doing as a church minister, as a church pastor.
You're watching Fiji Village Street Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
That sounds right. Okay, I got it. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Sick and tired of hearing all these people talk about what's the deal with this pop life and when is it gonna fade out? The sun is fading away.
If I could reach the stars,
Bum, 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 bum. I don't know the rest of the words.
I'd give them all to you.
As the June light turns to moonlight. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. Loving you is all I ever need. Making love with you is all good.
I take back those words that hurt you, and you'd stay.
आप देख रहे हैं इसी संडास जो हमारे सुपरस्टार ब्रश अभी आकर इस्तेमाल करेगा किसी वक्त अभी लो आ गया सुपरस्टार ब्रश
Not following me
सर
again.
सर सर जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर अगर जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर are the rumors true sir hopefully bye सर अब आप देख रहे हैं दफ्तर के स्टूडियो में हम बन चुके हैं जेसिका जी जेसिका जनता जानना चाहते हैं जेसिका जनता जानना चाहते हैं कि आप कौन सी मेकअप लगाते हैं
आज मैंने तो कोई मेकअप नहीं लगाया
लगता है लगा ले
How dare you, DEA!
तो आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ एसएन का गाड़ी पड़ा है काफी गर्जी है लेकिन एसएन साहब एसएन सर अमेरिका से आए हुए हैं सर अमेरिका का जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर आप हमेशा काला चश्मा क्यों पहनते हैं सर
तो सफेद चश्मा कहाँ मिली? सफेद चश्मा देखा कहीं तुम?
तुकता काय को है
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is Reverend Simoni Tugi, who is a board member of the Fiji Council of Churches. He is the General Secretary of the Fiji Evangelical Fellowship and also a former General Secretary of the Fiji Council of Churches, member of the Narcotics Bureau, the newly established Narcotics Bureau, and also a committee member of the HIV Task Force. Now, Reverend Tugi, do you think the churches are doing enough? You have said before this segment that we need to act now. You have been in the church system for quite some time.
Yes.
Do you think we are doing enough?
No, we are not doing enough. We really need to address this. Like I said before, we have the best platform. We are not utilizing that to the full capacity of what we're supposed to do. I've also shared that all these social issues are thriving in Fiji because me as a pastor, I'm not doing enough work. I sometimes ask myself whether the church is relevant because if our spirituality goes up, social issues should go down. But now we are saying that we are spiritual. Fiji, we are faith people, and it doesn't connect. The social issue is bad. The Pacific is worried because we have AIDS in Fiji. We're supposed to be the way the world should be. Right now, I don't know who we are right now. And I partly blame the church. I blame myself. Am I doing the right thing? In my church, when I say that we need knowledge, in my church, because I have gone to a lot of workshops and I know the data and all those. I use my knowledge in our general conference to speak on social issues. Just like last week, 4 days in our leaders conference in Nandi. My subject is about social issues and I talk about drugs. For them to go into their various churches and talk about it. Because it's right there. It's not just like what we think it's happening. It's right there. So the church should do a lot, much more on these social issues.
Questions are being raised. For example, I mean, it's open knowledge in relation to some of the neighborhoods where a lot of meth busts are occurring. For example, Mid Road housing. And the church is not too far away from the actual areas where people are going and buying drugs. There's comments being made that some of those areas and some of those people involved in that may be giving the biggest amount of tithe to the churches themselves, maybe an area that needs to be looked at. But do you think these churches in these neighborhoods are failing?
I will say, you go to any church any Sunday, just go and sit there and just try to listen to the sermon. For the whole 1 hour, they will never talk about drugs. They will never talk about violence against women and children. They will never talk about any social issues. So, there you are. That's why there is a lot of problems happening in Fiji, because we are not talking about it. We are not talking about it. You just go to other workshops and you hear them. But for the participants, are they going to share that with their family? That's why I keep on saying that the churches have the best platform to talk about this, because the congregation, the village, they go to a church. That's the only way we can do awareness in the community like that.
What more can be done to look after your congregations?
First, that I believe the government, I beg the government, please take the knowledge and the resources we have, call the pastors from a division in West or Northern or Eastern, put them in place 4 days and give them the knowledge they need.
Of all social issues?
Yeah, for all social issues. Because right now, the Bible says, lack of knowledge, people perish. We are dying now because of lack of knowledge. We don't know what to preach. We know our Bible. I have no problem with that.
From Genesis to Revelation.
Exactly. From Genesis to Revelation, you can preach anything. But how about the social issues? When Jesus wants to take you to heaven in something of spiritual thing, he will talk about problems around you, where you call them parables. Now, why don't we use the social issues we have as a parable? We don't talk about that. You go to any church in Fiji.
What type of support is needed?
Training, education from the government, from the NGOs, from the international agencies, and for the pastors themselves. I told them in Nandi, just Google drugs. It will tell you everything about drugs in Fiji. If there is nobody comes to train us, and see the data there. Just Google it. Everything is in the internet. And it's really up to us. Just like when we try to research for a sermon, research for these social ills.
What type of strategies do the churches need to have?
We need to talk about this in the highest forum. Like in the Fiji Evangelical Fellowship, we take it to our general conference. And we have only 3 resolutions for this year.
What are they?
God, evangelism, and social issues.
If you can explain.
Our relationship with God, that's the first thing, priority. And evangelism, that is our call, the Great Commission. Go out. And social issues, we should know the relationship between your work and you. In Luke chapter 4, verse 16 to 17, it says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, to preach the good news and set the captives free, the blind to see, the deaf to hear." These captives, these deaf, these blind, they are outside our church. Now the church is like concentrating the inside. When you concentrate in the inside, you build bridges. You build fences around you. And that's why there's a lot of people outside. They don't go to church anymore. And we are trying to concentrate on keeping the very people, the people who are supposed to be trained and sent out, we keep them inside. Worrying if they go outside, somebody else will grab them. That's a problem in Fiji right now, of stealing sheep. And we have spent so much on the maintenance of the body, but very little on the concern of Christ is to go out. Captives. There are a lot of people here, they are captives with drugs, with violence, and they needed to get out from those issues. I think the church should relook at our vision, at our mission. If those are the concern of Christ to go out, then it's supposed to be the church objectives.
What do you have for the young people, and what type of support do you need? Because there's data also coming through, the younger people are leaving churches because maybe they're not finding the answers. What do you have, or what do you need for the young people?
Yeah, because all these problems, our young people are the most vulnerable community. And because we don't address in the church their issues, that's why they're moving around. They're moving around trying to find the answers to their questions. They have a lot of questions. If you can't answer the questions from home, if you can't answer their questions from their churches, they will find somewhere to find these answers. They have got a lot of energy to move around and find what they need. And that's why they end up in all sorts of issues, because they've been asking questions. And that's why we have a lot of youths are in trouble, and there is a lot of our youths are moving around. You know, the churches is not growing in terms of membership of those people who are giving their life to Christ, but we are growing horizontally, divisions. If you are my senior pastor and disagree with something that you said, I will take 4 or 5 families and start my own church. And you can't do anything about it. And if they complain, the government can't do anything about it because of the Constitution. You have, the right to start your own church. You have the right of worship. So there's a big problem of our youths. They are going around. A lot of churches, they are very concerned because of the declining in their numbers. And maybe we should look at how we are dealing with our children. And our children and our youths are the ones who is very, very vulnerable with these social issues we have right now.
My final question, you were at the National Drug Symposium, and last year a lot of priorities came out of it, objectives came out of it. You did say that we have reached that breaking point in Fiji. As a father who's struggling to ensure that your daughter gets the best help possible, which is not available in Fiji, what is your message to the people out there, and what is your call to the government of the day?
I would like to say to all the parents out there who are facing the same problem as I have, please love your children. They are a gift of God to you, but sometimes we cannot control what they face during their lifetime. There is a lot of our kids who are going to school. Nobody teaches their family, their children to do bad things. But from home to school, there is about 8 hours a day in the school, and that's where they see a lot of things, and the imitations and a lot of things can happen between that time. Don't really see the problem in them. See them as this is your children. The love is the most important thing here, because love supersedes everything. We have a lot of our kids in town right now. They don't have that love. And because of their relatives or their parents, they see drugs and they chase them away because of the stigma. Oh, you have a child who's got drugs, who addicted to drugs. And sometimes some of the parents, they don't want to hear that. So the only thing is to remove or get their children away. I would like to say to all the parents out there, be positive, but we need to stand together and get our voice across to the government. And please, the government, we need a rehab center. We need a rehab center that can cure this thing. It's not, there are rehab centers around the world which they have 95% successful rate. People change, their life change, and they are willing to come and help us.
Reverend Tugi, thank you very much. Again, we appreciate you accepting our invitation to come on the show. And on behalf of our listeners and viewers on Fiji Village Straight Talk tonight, we again thank you for coming on the show tonight. No doubt this will not be the only time that you'll be coming in. We will continue to look at these social issues, and hopefully we can see light at the end of the tunnel and start making changes for the better, positive changes, including for your loving daughter, that we hope that proper rehabilitation comes to Fiji in the next few months that will result in a positive outcome. We thank you again, and until next week, have a great evening.